The lawnmower's engine sputtered to a violent stop precisely at 7:59 a.m., exactly 1 minute before the Sunnyside Estates Homeowners Association's strictly enforced noise ordinance went into effect. Jennifer Hartwell, known to her neighbors simply as Karen, low river binoculars and allowed herself a thin, satisfaction-laden smile. She caught him, again. Todd Brennan from 1437 Maple Drive was 1 millisecond away from violating the sacred noise regulations that Jennifer had personally championed during last month's HOA meeting. The tall, muscular landscaper had no idea how close he'd come to receiving a formal citation, a warning that would go directly into his permanent neighborhood file. Jennifer adjusted the leopard print reading glasses perched atop her meticulously highlighted blonde hair and reached for her color-coded complaint log. Neon yellow for noise violations, hot pink for landscaping infractions, electric blue for parking issues. Each complaint was a weapon, carefully documented and filed with the precision of a military strategist. The Sunnyside Estates wasn't just a neighborhood. It was her kingdom, and Jennifer Hartwell was its uncontested queen. Her smartphone, encased in a bedazzled cover that matched her current mood, chirped with an incoming email. Another potential violation. Her manicured fingers swiped open the message, revealing a complaint about Roberto Martinez's unauthorized garden gnomes. Unauthorized garden gnomes. The words themselves made her twitch with righteous indignation. They're not just decorative items, she muttered to herself. They're a systematic breakdown of community standards. Years of corporate middle management had prepared Jennifer for this role. She knew how to weaponize bureaucracy, how to turn minor infractions into crusades. Her neighbors might see her as difficult, but she saw herself as the last line of defense against neighborhood chaos. The Martinez gnome situation would require a multi-step approach. First, a formal written warning, then photographic documentation. If necessary, she'd escalate to the AVO board, a group she carefully cultivated to share her vision of absolute residential perfection. A distant dog bark caught her attention. Immediately, she grabbed her noise monitoring app, ready to timestamp and document the potential violation. Her reputation wasn't built on letting things slide. Todd Brennan's lawnmower sat silently now, a testament to her vigilance. She watched him like a hawk, timing his every move, ensuring he respected the neighborhood's meticulously crafted regulations. Some might call it obsessive. Jennifer called it community leadership. Her phone buzzed again. An alert from the neighborhood security camera system she personally lobbied the HOA to install. Another potential infraction? Her pulse quickened with anticipation. Jennifer Hartwell wasn't just an AHOA board member. She was a guardian, a protector, a force of bureaucratic nature that could not be undermined by something as trivial as individual homeowner preferences. The day was young and violations were waiting to be documented. The emergency AHOA board meeting was called with military precision. Jennifer Hartwell had ensured that, strategically positioning herself at the head of the conference table in the community clubhouse. Her lavender blazer, pressed within an inch of its life, matched the color-coded complaint folders spread before her like battle plans. The situation with the Martinez property, she began, her voice cutting through the murmurs like a freshly sharpened legal document, represents a clear and present danger to our community standards. Harold Thompson, the board's oldest member, shifted uncomfortably. He'd known Jennifer since she first moved into Sunnyside Estates 5 years ago, transforming from a mid-level corporate manager into the neighborhood's most feared enforcer of residential regulations. Roberto Martinez sat at the far end of the table, looking bewildered. He was a quiet landscaper, originally from Mexico, who had lived in the neighborhood for nearly 2 decades. His crime? 3 garden gnomes. Not just any gnomes, hand-painted ceramic figures that violated Section 7, Paragraph 3 of the Sunnyside Estates Aesthetic Compliance Guidelines. Those gnomes, Jennifer continued, clicking a remote that projected high-resolution photographs onto the wall, are categorically inappropriate. Note the chipped paint, the asymmetrical positioning, the clear violation of our uniform landscape ordinance. The photographs were damning. Each gnome was captured from multiple angles, with measurement lines demonstrating their exact deviation from the community's established aesthetic standards. Jennifer had spent hours preparing this presentation, complete with a 17-page supplemental report detailing each microscopic infraction. Martinez tried to speak, but they'd been there for 15 years is irrelevant, Jennifer interrupted. Her perfectly highlighted hair didn't move a millimeter as she spoke. Violations do not become acceptable through longevity. Harold coughed. Jennifer, is this truly an emergency? She fixed him with a look that could freeze molten lava. Would you consider a potential property value reduction of 0.03% an emergency, Harold? The room went silent. Property values were the nuclear option in HOA warfare, and everyone knew it. Martinez's wife, Elena, who had accompanied him, whispered something in Spanish. Jennifer's ears, trained from years of corporate meetings, caught the word loca, crazy. Little did Elena know that Jennifer Hartwell had built her entire reputation on being precisely that, crazy enough to fight every single battle, no matter how small. The projector clicked to another slide. Compared images of approved landscaping versus the Martinez violation filled the screen. Each gnome was circled in a bright red marker, their ceramic faces seeming to plead for mercy. "We are not just protecting property values," Jennifer declared. "We are protecting the very fabric of civilized community living." Harold mumbled something about getting coffee. Martinez looked like he might be sick. Elena's arms were crossed, a mix of anger and disbelief etched across her face. Jennifer Hartwell was just getting started, and in the world of Sunnyside Estates, that was a promise, not a threat. The aftermath of the gnome hearing reverberated through Sunnyside Estates like a perfectly manicured shockwave. Jennifer Hartwell knew she'd won, she always won, but something about the Martinez case felt different. Elena's defiant glare had lingered just a moment too long, hinting at potential resistance. Her reconnaissance began that evening. Jennifer's midnight blue Mercedes SUV, detailed weekly and polished to a mirror finish, rolled slowly down Maple Drive, her night vision dash cam capturing every inch of potential neighborhood infractions. She'd installed the camera system herself after a contentious HOA vote, arguing it was essential for community protection. The Martinez property loomed ahead. To her horror, one of the gnomes remained. Not for long. Jennifer had a plan. Not just any plan, a meticulously crafted strategy that would make military tacticians weep with admiration. She discovered a little-known clause in the Sunnyside Estates bylaws buried in Section 14, subsection G, paragraph 3. Persistent violations of aesthetic standards may result in direct board intervention. Translation: she could remove the offending gnome herself. Her glove compartment contained a carefully curated intervention kit, latex gloves, medical grade, evidence collection bags, a compact digital camera for documentation, a telescopic grabber tool she purchased specifically for problematic landscape elements. The streetlight cast a perfect shadow as she approached the Martinez front yard. One gnome, ceramic, approximately 14 inches tall, wearing what appeared to be a blue hat with a suspicious chip near the brim. Jennifer's heart raced. This wasn't just about a gnome. This was about maintaining order, preserving community standards, protecting property values. A sound, a creak, movement from the Martinez house. She froze. Elena Martinez stood on the front porch, arms crossed, silhouetted against the interior light. Their eyes met, a silent standoff between two immovable forces. Jennifer's hand gripped the gnome removal tool. Elena's stance suggested she knew exactly what was happening, what Jennifer was about to do. Neither woman spoke. The neighborhood held its breath. Crickets chirped, a sound that would absolutely be logged as a potential noise violation if Jennifer had her way. One moment stretched into another. The gnome sat, seemingly oblivious to the war being waged around its ceramic existence. Its chipped blue hat caught the moonlight, a defiant beacon of resistance against the perfectly manicured lawns of Sunnyside Estates. Jennifer Hartwell had faced down corporate boardrooms. She bulldozed through countless HOA challenges. She'd reduced grown men to tremble in compliance with nothing more than a precisely worded email and a withering glare. But Elena Martinez was different. And for the first time in her meticulously controlled life, Jennifer felt a flicker of uncertainty. The night was young, the gnome remained, and something was about to give. The county clerk's office became Jennifer Hartwell's battlefield that morning. She arrived precisely at 8:30 a.m., her meticulously organized file box tucked under one arm, a fresh cup of fair trade coffee balanced in her perfectly manicured hand. The Martinez gnome situation had escalated, and Jennifer was about to drop her ultimate weapon, formal documentation. "I need to file a formal complaint," she announced to the bored-looking clerks, spreading a stack of color-coded documents across the counter. Each page was a testament to her investigative prowess. Photographs, measurements, detailed annotations about ceramic garden decorations that dared to violate Sunnyside Estates' sacred aesthetic guidelines. The clerk, a young woman named Melissa with multiple ear piercings and a look of profound disinterest, began sorting through the paperwork. Jennifer watched her like a hawk, ready to correct any potential misfile or misinterpretation. "Ma'am," Melissa said, her voice flat, "this seems to be about a garden gnome." "This," Jennifer corrected, her leopard print reading glasses sliding down her nose, "it's about maintaining community standards." A commotion near the entrance caught her attention. Roberto Martinez had followed her to the county offices. He looked desperate, a man pushed to the absolute limit of suburban bureaucratic tolerance. "Mrs. Hartwell," he called out, "we can discuss this." Jennifer pretended not to hear. Selective hearing was one of her most finely honed skills, developed through years of corporate meetings and HOA negotiations. Melissa continued processing the complaint, her fingers moving with practiced indifference. Each stamp, each annotation was another blow in Jennifer's war against neighborhood non-compliance. "The gnomes have been part of our family for years," Roberto pleaded, his voice carrying across the quiet office. Jennifer's phone buzzed. A text from Harold Thompson, her primary ally on the HOA board. "Be careful. This looks like it might get messy." Messy was not in Jennifer Hartwell's vocabulary. The file was taking shape, a masterpiece of bureaucratic precision. Detailed measurements of the offending garden gnomes, comparative analysis of neighborhood aesthetic standards, impact assessment on property values. She'd left nothing to chance. Roberto approached closer. "Please, can we talk about this?" Jennifer turned, her leopard print glasses catching the fluorescent light. "Mr. Martinez, there's nothing to discuss. Rules are rules." Melissa cleared her throat. "Ma'am, I've completed the initial filing. Would you like a copy of the complaint?" At that moment, everything changed. Elena Martinez walked through the office door, her eyes locked directly on Jennifer. No anger, no frustration, just a look that suggested this was far from over. The county clerk's office held its breath. Jennifer Hartwell had filed her complaint, but something told her this was just the beginning of a battle she might not have fully anticipated. The emergency community meeting packed the Sunnyside Estates clubhouse to capacity. Jennifer Hartwell knew how to draw a crowd. Her carefully orchestrated complaint against the Martinez family had become the neighborhood's most anticipated drama since the Great Sprinkler System debate of 2019. Whispers rippled through the room like static electricity. Some residents looked nervous. Others looked excited. Jennifer stood at the podium, her leopard print blazer a beacon of bureaucratic authority. "This isn't about a garden gnome," she began, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "This is about maintaining the very fabric of our community." Elena Martinez sat in the front row, her arms crossed. Roberto looked defeated, but there was something brewing in his wife's eyes, a spark of resistance that Jennifer hadn't anticipated. The projector flickered to life. Photographs of the offending gnomes filled the massive screen, each image carefully annotated with measurements, color codes, and citations from the Sunnyside Estates Homeowners Association bylaws. Exhibit A, Jennifer declared, her pointer tapping a series of detailed diagrams. "Notice the precise way these ceramic violations undermine our community's aesthetic standards." Harold Thompson, the oldest board member, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He'd known Jennifer long enough to recognize when she was preparing for total war. A hand raised in the back of the room. Mark Henderson, a retired military veteran who typically supported Jennifer's crusades, looked uncertain. "Isn't this a bit extreme?" Jennifer's smile was razor-thin. Extreme is allowing one property to compromise the value of every home in Sunnyside Estates. The room fell silent. Elena Martinez stood up. The entire room held its breath. "You want to talk about community?" she said, her voice calm but carrying a weight that silenced even Jennifer's meticulously planned presentation. "Let me tell you about community." Roberto touched his wife's arm, a silent plea, but Elena was done being silent. Jennifer gripped the podium. This wasn't part of her script. Her carefully color-coded complaint folders seemed to flutter nervously at her side. The Martinez family had lived in Sunnyside Estates for nearly 2 decades. They helped neighbors during floods, hosted block parties, volunteered at community events. Those gnomes weren't just decorations. They were a family tradition passed down through generations. "Those gnomes," Elena continued, "were a gift from my father. The last gift he gave me before he passed away." A collective murmur swept through the room. Jennifer's perfectly prepared presentation suddenly felt paper-thin. The clubhouse lights seemed to dim. Jennifer Hartwell realized for the first time that she might have finally met her match. The battle for Sunnyside Estates was about to get very, very interesting. The aftermath of the community meeting hit Jennifer Hartwell like an unexpected property tax reassessment. Her carefully constructed world was fracturing, one neighborhood allegiance at a time. She'd always been the HOA's unquestioned authority. Now whispers of dissent crawled through Sunnyside Estates like kudzu. Mark Henderson, her most reliable supporter, had publicly questioned her gnome crusade. Harold Thompson seemed to be avoiding her calls. Worse, social media was a nightmare. A local blogger had picked up the story. Sunnyside Estates HOA Karen wages war on grieving families' memories, the headline screamed. Someone had even created a GoFundMe for the Martinez family, raising over $5,000 in just 48 hours. Jennifer's smartphone became a minefield of notifications, text messages, emails, neighborhood group chat screenshots documenting her escalating madness. She needed a counteroffensive. Her home office became a war room. Color-coded files covered every surface. Printed screenshots, bylaws, zoning regulations. Each document was a potential weapon in her battle to maintain neighborhood supremacy. The Martinez gnomes weren't just a violation anymore. They were a symbol of everything Jennifer fought against: chaos, disorder, lack of control. A knock at the door interrupted her strategic planning. It was Alina Martinez. Jennifer considered ignoring her, considered calling the police, but something, curiosity, a tiny spark of humanity, made her open the door. "I'm here to make a proposal," Alina said, her voice calm and deliberate. Jennifer's perfectly maintained eyebrow arched. A proposal? From the woman whose garden gnomes had become a neighborhood rebellion? Alina produced a folder, pristine, organized, exactly the way Jennifer would have prepared it. "I've reviewed every single HOA regulation," Alina continued, "and I believe we can find a compromise that satisfies both the letter of the law and the spirit of our community." Jennifer's professional instincts warred with her bureaucratic bloodlust. A compromise? She didn't do compromises, she did total victory. And yet, the folder looked suspiciously compelling. Roberto Martinez stood a few steps behind his wife, looking equal parts nervous and hopeful. The neighborhood watched. The HOA board waited. Social media buzzed with anticipation. Jennifer Hartwell, master of rules, queen of compliance, terror of Sunnyside Estates, found herself at a crossroads. One gnome, one family's memory, one moment that could define everything she built. Alina extended the folder, a peace offering, a challenge, a potential solution that Jennifer had never considered possible. Her manicured hand hovered between acceptance and rejection. The compromise arrived like a carefully worded legal document, precise, unexpected, and potentially revolutionary. Alina's proposal transformed the gnome from a symbol of rebellion into a meticulously regulated community artifact. The ceramic figure would remain, but with conditions that would make even the most stringent HOA bureaucrat proud. Custom-built display base, regulation height, regulation color, powder-coated in the exact shade of beige specified in Section 4.2 of the Sunnyside Estates Landscape Guidelines. The gnome would be mounted exactly 18 inches from the property line, with a custom-engineered stabilization system that prevented any potential tilting or aesthetic deviation. Jennifer found herself impressed against her will. The neighborhood watched. Social media buzzed. Local news outlets, desperate for content in a slow news cycle, had turned the gnome into a cause caliber of suburban resistance. Harold Thompson called an emergency HOA board meeting. The clubhouse felt different this time. Gone was the typical atmosphere of bureaucratic superiority. Instead, a strange tension hung in the air, part negotiation, part surrender. "We've reviewed the Martinez proposal," Harold announced, his voice crackling with the weight of municipal authority, "and we believe it represents a unique opportunity to demonstrate the HOA's flexibility." Translation: they were backing down. Jennifer sat near the back, her perfectly pressed blazer a stark contrast to the murmurs of compromise surrounding her. She'd won battles before, but this felt different. This felt like something more. Roberto Martinez caught her eye. No triumph, no anger. Just a look of mutual respect that transcended the absurd ceramic battlefield they created. The vote was unanimous. The gnome would stay. But something else had changed in Sunnyside Estates. A precedent had been set. A line had been drawn, not in the sand, but in meticulously documented bureaucratic language. Jennifer's phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "Congratulations on finding a solution that works for everyone." It was Alina. For the first time in years, Jennifer Hartwell found herself without a perfectly prepared response. The color-coded complaint folders in her meticulously organized home office suddenly felt like relics of a different time. The neighborhood held its breath. One small gnome had become a symbol of something larger. Compromise, understanding, the delicate balance between rules and humanity. Jennifer stared out the window of the clubhouse, watching the late afternoon light cast shadows across the perfectly manicured lawns of Sunnyside Estates. Something was shifting. Something was changing. And for once, she wasn't entirely sure she wanted to stop it.